Welcome to my presentation about efficient load balancing through token dropping. This is joint work with Sebastian Brandt, Rybicki, Jukka Suomela, Jara Uitto, and myself, Barbara Keller. Our work takes place in the local model. In the local model, at the beginning, each node only knows its neighbors. In each round, each node can perform unlimited local computations, and it can send and receive messages to and from neighbors. The usual question that is asked in the local model is, how many rounds does it take to solve a certain problem at hand? In our work here today, we will look at the following problem, the load balancing. In load balancing, you usually want to assign some kinds of nodes, like clients, to other kinds of nodes, servers. And you want to do it in a way so that not one server gets all the load, but the load is somewhat balanced. This is also known as the semi-matching. This comes from the fact that you want to match the clients to the servers in such a way that each client is assigned to a server and only one server, but the servers can have many clients. And this will result in the load for the server. So the load of a server is the number of clients attached to it. Now we want to minimize this load, and there are different functions one can choose. We were choosing the following. So we sum up from 1 to the load for each server, and then we sum up over all the servers. And this is what we try to minimize. And once you get a minimum for that, this is an optimal semi-matching. In this work, we are not focusing on the optimal semi-matching, but our goal is a stable assignment. A stable assignment is also known as a locally optimal semi-matching. And this means nothing else than locally each client is happy. So a client being happy means that it has no incentive to unilaterally switch the server. Let's take a look at a concrete example. We have here the clients and the servers, and let's say the clients are assigned to the servers like that. Now you can see the load on the right-hand side, and we can ask, is this locally stable? And you can immediately see that it is not, because this node here is not happy. It is assigned to a node with load 3, and it could be assigned to this server with load 1. So this node wants to change, and if it changes, of course, this server's load increases to 2, and this decreases to 2. So now it has a better service because the load is smaller of its server. Simultaneously, you can also see that now all the load is distributed equally. So this is also an optimal semi-matching. So now let's look at another semi-matching like this one. And we can ask again, is this locally stable? And in this case, it actually is locally stable. Even though this node here is attached to a server with a smaller load, this is not enough, because if this node would change, then this load would increase again, and this node wouldn't be any wiser. So this means that locally optimal semi-matching is not an optimal semi-matching. But as shown by Jukka et al. In 2012, it is actually a true approximation of an optimal semi-matching. Let's have a quick discussion of the state of the art and our contributions. So Jukka, as already mentioned, has shown an algorithm with round complexity delta to the power of 5 to get a true approximation of an optimal semi-matching. So this is very efficient if you have a graph with a lot of nodes, because it's only dependent on the largest degree. Delta is the largest degree of the graph. Haldarsson found an efficient algorithm in polylog n, which is of course great if you have a big degree, and otherwise you can still fall back to Jukka's algorithm. Esadi et al. Improved Haldarsson's algorithm to a better approximation factor and also a runtime of polylog n. Our contribution is we provide an algorithm that runs in delta faster than the one known from Jukka. So it runs in delta to the power of 4. You can see here is a factor of c. This is the highest degree of the client. If the client degree is as large as the largest server degree, then we have the same round complexity as Jukka. But we assume that in most of these setups, the clients have actually less high degrees than the servers. We also provide a lower bound for the semi-matching with the omega of delta. And we have the same approximation factor of Jukka and all. So how do we save time compared to Jukka's algorithm? So in their work, they start with a random assignment of clients to servers, and then they fix all the unhappy nodes. And this can lead to long chains of unhappiness that have to go on fixing, because every time a client changes the server, it can make another client unhappy. We, on the other hand, we start with an empty assignment, and we carefully add more and more assignments in phases. And after each phase, we make the graph locally stable again. Let's have a quick overview of this algorithm. So we start, as said, with the empty assignment. Then we temporarily assign at most one more client per server. And then we already try to balance it. And we do that by using something called token dropping, which I will tell you soon more about. With this, we fix the current assignment, and then we go back to step 2, and we continue assigning more and more clients, and then balancing it over and over again until all of the clients are assigned. Let's have a look how this algorithm works. So we start with unmatched clients proposing to the server with the smallest load. So in this case, if we start new, of course, all the servers have load 0. So the clients just propose to a server and ties are broken arbitrarily. So this can look like this. The servers do the same. They accept one proposal temporarily and ties are broken arbitrarily. Now, after this step, we already try to balance. Here, the balance will not change anything because it's pretty balanced. And we go back to the next phase. In the next phase, the unassigned clients propose to a server. Again, ties broken arbitrarily. The servers accept one proposal temporarily, and then we try to balance. Again, there is nothing left to balance here, so we enter the next phase. So in the next phase now, what happens is this client proposes to the server with the smallest load. They have the same load, so he proposes to this one here. But now you can see that we again ended up in this scenario I showed you at the beginning, that actually this node here will be unhappy, because if this is accepted and the load here increased, there is now a node that would profit from changing the server. But before we increase this load here, this new assignment was only accepted temporarily. So what we do is we invoke the token dropping game with this. So how do we build up this token dropping game graph? So all the servers are nodes. And the level of a node, so these nodes are put on different levels, is nothing else than the load of the server before entering the game. Now, what are the edges? So every time two servers with different loads share a common client, this client serves as an edge between these two servers. And tokens are the temporarily newly assigned clients. So back in this case here, this is the new token in our game. So let's take a look at a graph. So this is not the same graph I've shown you before, because this would be way too small to understand what's happening. So I just chosen another token dropping game graph than the one we just looked at. But you can see here, these are the servers. They are now nodes in this game. Then here is the level. This just describes the load of the servers. And here, these are these tokens that are newly assigned edges. Now, the rules of this game are pretty simple. So tokens traverse edges down to unoccupied nodes, and any edge can only be traversed once. So we do it in practice like that. Unoccupied node with at least one parent with a token proposes to take the token. Like these are now all the nodes that propose to their parent, or at least to one parent. I mean, this one, for example, has two parents, but it just proposes to one, and ties are broken arbitrarily. Nodes with token take the proposal from one child. Again, ties broken arbitrarily, and then they pass down the token. After passing down the token, the edges are removed from the game, and the game continues exactly the same as before. So the children propose, the parents accept and send down the token, the edges are removed. And this is continued over and over again until no token can traverse down anymore. So what it means actually is that if an edge was traversed here, you can think like the server that got this newly assigned edge sends this back and sends it to the other server that was also assigned to this edge. So this is just, if it traverses down one edge, this means that we walked through one of the clients and reassigned the server for this client. That's also the reason why such an edge can only be traversed once. So now we need to go back to the original graph. So what we mean is that as said, traversing an edge means that the respective client was reassigned to a new server. And servers that end up with a token in the end of the game, they now have an increased load. So for example, this server here, this, and also this, they will increase their load. This resulting graph is locally optimal because otherwise there could have been a token that traversed down further. Now, again, we now did this balancing step, and in our original algorithm, we now have to go back to, again, assign more clients per server and continue this whole game until we are done and all the clients are assigned. Let's take a quick look at the analysis. So the token dropping game can be solved in O of L. L is the height of the game, and delta to the power of 2. And our game also has a lower bound of L plus delta. Also, we found that any algorithm that solves the token dropping game in these T rounds can be used to find a stable orientation in O of delta times these T rounds. If we plug all of this together, keep in mind that L is the level and this was the load of the server, so this is also bounded by the degree. Then we get O of delta to the power of 4 for locally optimal semi-matching. During our journey, we came across several questions we still would like to answer. For example, one of them is we provided a lower bound of delta for the semi-matching if you have this stable assignment. But we were wondering, do you really need to have a stable assignment to have a 2 approximation of a semi-matching? And if not, can you find an algorithm that is actually faster than the delta of our lower bound to get that? And the second is we are still interested in our token dropping game. So we have seen that it has a lower bound of delta for already 2 levels. This comes from the fact that you can reduce it to a matching. But we also have shown an algorithm that solves the token dropping game for 3 levels in O of delta. However, the current best algorithm we saw so far for 4 levels runs in O of delta squared. And we wonder if there is a faster algorithm for 4 levels or more. And that concludes my talk. And thank you for watching and have a nice day.